nativity rates in Iowa, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin did not keep Barack Obama from winning those states in 2012. And we'll go over some of these percentages. We won't hit them all. Louisiana 78.8. That was in 2010. Percentage of people residing in the state who were born there in 2010, and shaded by the 2012 vote. Nonetheless, we live in Louisiana 78.8%, Michigan 76.6%. You can see where I'm going. In Wisconsin 72.1%. Mississippi 71.9%, Iowa 71.7%, West Virginia 71.1%, Kentucky 70.3%, Alabama 70, Minnesota, a blue state, they're in blue and red incidentally, at 68.8%, North Dakota basically the same thing, and Illinois, the president's home state, 67.1%. And then we go to Missouri, a red state, 65.9, I'm sorry. Nebraska 65.6, and North Dakota 65.1. A lot of new people obviously in North Dakota. There'll be more now if the survey were done at this time. In Maine 64, 63.6 in New York, and 63.1 in the Bay State, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Arkansas 61.3, Utah 62.3, Tennessee 61, the red state of Oklahoma 60.8, and Texas 60.5. So that's roughly 35-40% of the people are new to the state of Texas. Rhode Island 59.3, a little surprising there. North and South Carolina both at 58, one at 0.6, one at 0.5. Kansas 58, Georgia 55, Connecticut, a lot of movement there. Blue state 55.1, Hawaii 55, the president was born there. Montana 54.1, a little surprising there. California, no surprises at all, 53.8. New Jersey 52.4. New Mexico, a lot of movement there from out of state, 51.7. Vermont also the same, 51.1 actually. And then we go down, Virginia 49.9, Maryland 47.6. Idaho is a little surprising here, 46.9. A lot of people from California, like racist dog Thurman, moved there. Washington State, where we once lived, 46.9. Oregon 45.5. There was a lot of migration from California at the time we lived there in the late 70s, out in that area in the Pacific Northwest. Delaware 45.3. A little surprising, but not that surprising. A lot of mobilities there. And of course, New Hampshire, there's been a lot of mobility there from the Commonwealth and some from New York, 42.5. Wyoming, a state you normally don't go to, 41.5. In Alaska, the home of the crackpot right-wing type Sarah Palin, 39% were born there, including Sarah Palin was not born there. In Arizona, a state evidently in migration at 37.7, one of the lowest for what they call nativity. In Washington, D.C., 37.3. Florida, no one's from Florida, 35.2. Does make a difference. And of course, Nevada, even less people were born in the state of Nevada. O.J. Simpson wish he'd never visited the place. Nonetheless, 24.3. If we, that's the 2010 census actually. If we dig deeper by analyzing the relationship between state nativity rates and President Obama's support level. We find evidence superficially. Nativity rates tell us little, as Chart 2 indicates. This is only a weak negative correlation, and we won't get into that, between state nativity percentage and percentage of the vote the president received in 50 states plus the District of Columbia. And we go on here to look at a little of this. Needlessly, a case-by-case basis, nativity rates can tip us off to important changes within the state, while it doesn't tell much about Nevada, for example, which has always had been a state with a high number of residents born elsewhere. Probably for our purposes, the crystal ball's home state of Virginia exemplifies how nativity can matter as part of the demographic discussion. Chart 3 details the nativity percentage in every state over the last century, 1910 to 2010. And many states have relatively stable nativity rates, which were roughly 3 or 4 residents were native born in the past 100 years. However, relatively sharp drops in nativity explain a lot in a few states, including Virginia, which has gone from having one of the nation's highest nativity rates in 1910 to having one of the lowest in the 2000 census. And we'll give a few examples of this. In 1910, that was when a lot of African Americans still lived in Alabama. 86.9% were native born. In 2010, that's 70. We won't even get into Alaska; they weren't in the business. Arizona in 1910, 38.6%. Not a lot of change there. 37.7% in 2010. Arkansas, 67.1%, a land of opportunity. Many people left there, and now it's 61.3%. Not a lot of migration there. In California in 1910, it was a sparsely populated place. 38% of the people were born there. Now 53.8% were born. State of Colorado in the Rocky Mountains, 29.2 and 42.5 in 2010. To Florida, 61.5, that was in 1910, and now it's down to 35.2. A lot of Floridians have died and left. Georgia, 90.6 in 1910, and in 2010, 55.2. Illinois, 60.4, and now actually more people were born there, 67.1 in the state of Illinois. Indiana was 75.2 in 1910, it's 68.3, a little difference there. Iowa, 63.7 in 1910, and now it's 71.7. So actually it's increased the number of native Iowans. Kansas, let's see, 47.7%, and now it's 58.2. Louisiana, 80.9%, that's before Katrina and other massive nations, and now it's down to 78.8% there in the state of Louisiana. The Bay State, 55.3 in 1910, and 63.1 in 2010. So in other words, there are more natives in the Bay State than there were in 2010. In 1910. Michigan, 62.7%. Were native to the state of Michigan. Of course, the automobile industry cranked up, I should say. And African Americans, those migrated to Michigan in large numbers. But now, even without migration, 76.6% are still natives. The state of Minnesota, 54% were natives in 1910, whereas 68.8 in 2010. Mississippi, 87, and is now 71.9%. Some inward migration, particularly African Americans from California and elsewhere, moved back to Mississippi. Missouri, not much there. 67.5 in 1910, 65.9 in 2010. Montana in 1910, only 26% basically, and it's 51.1 now. Nebraska, 50% of the people were there in 1910. It was just on the plains, and 65.6% in 2010. In urban states of notoriety, state of New York, 62, and it's 53.6 natives now, so it's basically unchanged. State of North Dakota, 34.3% of the people were natives, and of course the Native Americans hadn't been declared citizens at that time. Now it's 68.6. That's in 2010. It's much more now. Ohio, 74, and it's now 75. Not much. See, Oklahoma, 31, and now it's 68. That state was a frontier, no doubt. Same with Oregon, 33.5, and now 45.5. Pennsylvania, 73, almost 74, and it's 74 now. It really hasn't changed at all. Tennessee, 85.7 in 1910, and 61 now, so out migration there. I guess they couldn't make moonshine anymore. Texas, 71.1 in 1910 with native Texans, and now it's down to 60.5 and continuing, no doubt about that. Utah, 65.1 with natives in 1910, and now not much more. It's still an isolated case out there. 62.3 religious faith with the Mormons. Virginia, almost 90%, 87% in 1910, down to 49.9. Washington State, 23% in 1910, now 46.6%. In Wisconsin, 66, we'll call it 69%. Now it's 72.1. Not a lot of people moving to Wisconsin. And the whole U.S. as a whole, 66.5% in 1910, and now it's down to 58.8%. So it's of native-born people. So this does it for the Center and the Crystal Ball. And you periodically get stuff from our counterpart. We call it the Ouija board. Hell of a way to do politics. But nonetheless, this is dated 13 May. This is from the Pew Center for the People and the Press. And I'll just read the overview. The public paid limited attention last week's congressional hearings on Benghazi. Fewer than 44% of Americans say they were following the hearings. Fairly close, virtually unchanged from late January, when Hillary the Monster Clinton herself appeared. Last October, 61% said they were following the early stages of the investigation. The national survey by the Pew Center, conducted May 9th through 12th, 10,000 people there, finds Americans are deeply split over how the administration and congressional Republicans are handling the situation. 40% said the Obama administration generally has been dishonest when it comes to providing information about Benghazi, but 37% say they are generally honest. When it comes to Republican leanings, 36% say Republicans have gone too far in the hearings, and we'll hear a little bit more about this in an article from Politico. While 36% say they have handled it appropriately, not surprising, reactions divide clearly along partisan lines. 70% of Republicans say the Obama administration has been dishonest. 65% said the hearing has been handled appropriately, and among Democrats, 60% said the hearings have gone too far. 62% said the Obama administration has been honest. The judgment independence leans against the administration at this point, 48% to 30% margin. The administration is generally